I talk about yesterday, how it used to be, today, how it is today, tomorrow, how we hope it might be. It's my vision that families camped all over this wetland that was here to gather wapato, cranberries. There was deer, ducks, geese. There's everything we needed here. Not so much today. When I was about 8 years old, I dragged my dad's canoe over the dike and into the slough. And me and my buddy got in there, paddled up the slough. Today I couldn't make that journey.
Oftentimes the slough will just look like a big long pond. It's just very stagnant, there's no flow. The water temperatures will get warmer, stagnant water doesn't hold as much oxygen. And so what you sometimes see at the slough, because it's so stagnant and warm and there's no oxygen, is you'll have fish die-offs because they will actually suffocate because there's no oxygen in the water. Watershed Watch is a science-based charity. We're working to defend and rebuild BC's wild salmon and their habitats. Salmon are really iconic in BC. They feed our bears, our forests, they provide food security to so many communities, and they're culturally important to many, many First Nations in BC. What they would do historically is they'd go into all these little side channels and sloughs off of the Fraser, and they'd feed there, they grow bigger, and then they continue their migration out to sea. And until colonization occurred, they were able to do that. After colonization, we built flood infrastructure to protect our communities from flooding. What we did was we built infrastructure to keep the floodwaters out. And unfortunately, while doing this, we also built infrastructure that keeps salmon from accessing support habitat.
If people kept building structures over salmon habitats and continued to disconnect and destroy habitat, we would continue to see a decline in wild salmon populations. So what we really need to start doing is conserving habitat that we still have. By doing that, we can ensure that we're protecting at-risk stocks and rebuilding them and ensuring that we have salmon for future generations.
How would you feel if the salmon went extinct?
Wow. Will be the saddest day of my life. Saddest day for the Katzie people. In fact, there are rivers in BC right now that are what they call extirpated. A friend of mine from the Nicola people said the Coldwater River only had 25 salmon come back last year. She said within 5 years, there will be no salmon left.
During a salmon's life cycle, they face a variety of threats as they move from their freshwater habitats to the open ocean. We need to start making sure that there are more juvenile salmon returning to spawn, because right now many are not.
Katzie Slough is about 10 kilometers in length, and it runs through almost the entirety of Pitt Meadows. Though it once served as a travel route for Katzie First Nation, since colonization, the slough is primarily used for irrigation for farmland.
The slough, it's a sad thing to look at right now.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of challenges facing Katzie Slough right now. So there's been a lot of removal of riparian vegetation.
So over time, we have removed a lot of the trees that used to line the slough and a lot of the native vegetation. And this would have historically provided a lot of shade over the slough, and this keeps temperatures cooler. So salmon like really cool, clean water. So the more shade we can provide for them, the better the water will be. And then on the banks of the slough, we also have a lot of introduced or invasive vegetation. And they just don't support our native birds and wildlife as well as our native vegetation would.
And then the big issue is the presence of outdated flood control infrastructure, things like dikes and floodgates and pump stations that are barriers to fish passage. Pump stations will also unfortunately grind up fish that pass through them. This infrastructure has been in place for decades. It's due to be replaced, and there are fish-friendly
flood control solutions that now exist that we've been advocating for a long time. By implementing this infrastructure, it will not only reconnect the habitat for salmon, it will improve the flow of water, and it's just one of the steps required in addition to riparian planting and stream bank restoration that would go a long way towards improving the slough for wild salmon and also for the people who live in Pitt Meadows.
Ever since I've known Elder Rick, he's wanted to have educational signage that helps people to understand about the pre-colonial history of the slough, the current environmental challenges, and to bring community together around imagining a new future for the slough.
Our slough is a living entity as well, I believe, in my heart.
Hi, how are you? My name is Lizard Warrior, also known as Carmen McKay, also known as Helping Others. The mural conversation began with a few different individuals that had teaching and community connections here in Maple Ridge, thinking about the Katzie, the Kwantlen, the Matsqui territories.
One day I was out hunting, and it was just after my grandfather had passed away. I was very sad. I went out to the mountains hunting deer, and I decided to sit down beside this big old tree. And I actually fell asleep up there in the mountain by this tree. I was awakened by the deer. I had my gun. That's what I was up there for, hunting deer. But when I woke, I just looked at them, and the deer just kind of looked back at me and wandered off. I didn't kill anything on that trip. But when I came out of the mountains, all my pain, my inner pain was gone. Our ancestors were in the mountains. And my elders told me that they were there and they took my sorrow away. What is the most important thing I want people to take away from the mural? To make them think.
On the surface, a lot of great color, a lot of great inspiration. In the depth, a lot of history. There was quite a number of drawings that had inspired me to actually draw this. Quite a matching complement of what we saw, and the feelings of the land as well, and stories. Some of my first thoughts being an artist, really being on the land and seeing the kids that were there, that made a lasting impression.
I have a few hopes for what the mural can do to inspire this future generation, that the students who are able to be here at our school and view the mural and do work surrounding the mural begin to take that into their own hands when they visit places that either look like the mural or are directly related to. So when they're out on the Katzie Slough, they begin to connect, and it becomes this reciprocal relationship.
So one of the most powerful aspects of the mural for me is the depiction of the slough. And so Carmen based this aspect of the mural on some of the paintings done by the children. And in these paintings, you can see the beautiful flow of the slough, because of course this used to be a tidal wetland. Carmen then uses the fishing line from the fishing pole to sever that flow, depicting the diking system.
We say we belong here, then there's a good chance that you know the mountains that are depicted here as well. The relation for me, a lot of interconnectedness just with the land that has been home to my ancestors for thousands of years.
Because the Katzie Slough runs through the entirety of Pitt Meadows, my vision for the slough is it
essentially being the heart of the community, a place for people to gather. It'll be a place that's vibrant, that supports not only salmon, but birds and other local wildlife. It'll be a spot where people want to be and appreciate and enjoy, and that people care for and will continue to care for.
Be determined and know that there's going to always be a birth of an idea, of a creative moment.
I would like to see Katzie Slough the way it used to be. I look to all of you as the future. You don't have to be the biggest, strongest there is to be mighty.